Hello, welcome to Thor Talk, the show all about Marvel's resident god of thunder, where I will discuss Thor's feats, battles, story arcs, villains, and more. Today, we'll be discussing the first appearance of Thor and one of his most impressive feats, lifting the Midgard Serpent. So let's get started.
I am Thor the Thunderer, son of Odin, prince of Asgard. I am an Avenger, and this world is under my protection.
Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor.
The first appearance of Marvel's version of the mighty Thor was in Journey into Mystery number 83 in 1962. The Journey into Mystery series was originally a sort of odd mashup of different stories. These stories often delved into horror, such as a pair of ghostly hands haunting a murderer. Journey into Mystery number 83 was published in August of 1962 and was written by Stan Lee and his brother Larry Lieber, with Jack Kirby as the artist. Stan Lee first conceived Thor when he was trying to come up with a being stronger than the Hulk. He stated, and I quote, "How do you make someone stronger than the strongest person? It finally came to me. Don't make him human, make him a god." I decided readers were already pretty familiar with the Greek and Roman gods. It might be fun to delve into the Old Norse legends. Journey into Mystery needed a shot in the arm, so I picked Thor to headline the book. However, despite the fact that Thor took over the Journey into Mystery series to the point where its classic horror stories were replaced with Thor's own tales, it took 4 years until the book was officially renamed Thor, with issue 126. Journey into Mystery number 83 begins with Donald Blake, a lame surgeon who relies on a cane to walk around. He is in Norway on vacation, but his time off is rudely interrupted by the Kronins, or stone men from Saturn, such as the one seen in Thor the Dark World. These stone men from Saturn plan on conquering Earth, but they are only a scouting party, so they must make sure that any human who spots them must be killed. Unfortunately for Saturn, they are very bad at being discreet, as they are spotted by two people, a fisherman who tries to warn everyone, and Donald Blake. They chase him in order to kill him, but he escapes and hides in a nearby cave. But in his escape, he loses his cane, and the way out is blocked by a large boulder. However, in the cave, Blake finds a gnarled wooden stick and tries to use it as a lever to move the boulder. When he fails, he hits the boulder with the stick in frustration. This causes him to transform into the mighty Thor. With his newfound power as Thor, he easily lifts the boulder and escapes. Meanwhile, the forces of Earth have engaged the Kronins, but they are no match for them and their technology. Thor flies over to them and starts beating the snot out of them until they trap him in a cage, which Thor effortlessly escapes from. Thor then knocks out all their weapons and they're forced to use their most powerful weapon, the Mechano Monster. Now, in a situation like this, most superheroes would engage in a long, drawn-out battle and barely overcome their enemies with help from a desperate plan. But Thor hits it with his hammer once, and it's utterly destroyed. The Kronins flee in terror, and Donald Blake decides it's time to go back to the States. An interesting aspect of this story, and many stories following it, is Thor's relationship with Donald Blake. They don't have a Bruce Banner-Hulk relationship, where one turns into the other and then the other takes control, but they're one and the same. After a few years of fans speculating if Blake turned into Thor that first time, or Thor has been Blake this whole time and turned back into himself, it was revealed to be the latter. In Thor number 159, it was revealed that Odin created Donald Blake in order to teach Thor a lesson in humility. After Thor's arrogance violated the treaty with the Storm Giants, he cast Thor down to Earth in the form of Donald Blake, with his memories altered. Thor learned humility by being not only a human, but a frail human who required a cane to get around. Once Odin was satisfied, he mentally prompted Thor to go to Norway for his vacation. There, Blake found the stick, which he later used as a cane, and was able to turn into Thor. Even after this, he didn't have all his memories back, but over the years he gradually regained his memory. While being Blake allowed Thor to save lives as both a superhero and a doctor, and it allowed him to get close to the humans, which he had become very fond of, it also presented a huge weakness. You see, whenever Thor was not holding Mjolnir for 60 seconds, he would turn back into Donald Blake, who obviously was very vulnerable. In order to turn back into Thor, he had to get the cane, strike it on the ground, and then avoid losing the hammer again. Eventually, Thor lost the ability to turn into Blake, and it's no longer a weakness for him. However, years later, he could once again, only this time Blake was sentient and could think for himself. And then he lost that again, so no weakness for Thor.
If you truly claim to be warriors, then prove it!
Thor has some of the greatest feats of, well, anything. Feats of strength, power, durability, but one of his greatest feats of strength was lifting the Midgard Serpent, which is said to weigh the same as the Earth. The Earth weighs 6.6 sextillion tons, and Thor lifting the weight of the Earth is impressive, but it's not as impressive as what he really did. The Midgard Serpent was coiling around the Earth and about to crush it, like a constrictor snake. Now obviously there are no Midgard Serpents in real life, but we do have a point of comparison. The largest and strongest constrictor on Earth is the anaconda. An anaconda weighing 550 pounds was found to put on 90 pounds per square inch of force during constriction. Therefore, the amount of force the anaconda put on was 8,818 pounds of force, which is about 16 times its body weight. This means that Thor did not lift the weight of the Earth, but rather 16 times that. The grand total is 105.4 sextillion tons. But there's even more to this feat of strength. Thor was using a fishing pole to lift the 105.4 sextillion ton serpent, but he did so in a noticeably harder way. He hoisted the serpent with the pole itself. Apparently in fishing, this actually causes the fish to feel several times heavier than it actually is when done so in this manner, meaning that while Thor actually lifted a 105.4 sextillion ton serpent, it felt to him at least that it weighed much more than it actually was, meaning he had to apply more strength, meaning he lifted more than 16 times the weight of the Earth. That's crazy. Well, that's all for today. I'd like to formally state that all art and video is owned by its respective companies, mostly Marvel, and I own none of it. With that said, see you next time on Thor Talk, where...
You'll behold in breathless wonder